Hi AP, welcome to your next batch of pseudocode reading on DeltaMath. This one is going to be on conditionals with other conditionals nested inside them, so that same skill you were practicing writing. Now we're going to read in situations where what's being coded doesn't always make sense, so we can't rely on the outcome of the program. We have to really think about what's happening as we go line by line. Now you're going to notice that this pseudocode looks a lot like JavaScript, which is fantastic because it makes our life that much easier. This is another one where I'm going to recommend that you guys have like a paper out or something that you can record what's happening because it's going to make your life a lot easier as you go through the program. As you're going through this, there's a few different parts you're going to want to recognize. At the very top, you're always going to see your variable declarations. This is set up very similar to how we do things in class. And there might also be some like sneaky, tricky code before you ever get to conditionals. So in this program, which runs top down, there are no loops happening here, so it's just going to start from line 1, run to line 17. It might skip some stuff based on conditions, but it is not going to repeat itself. It's not going to try anything new. We want to make sure we know what's happening. So the very first thing, which I will take notes of in my code, is on line 1, it's making a variable called val1, and it's giving it a value of 1. Then it makes a variable called val2, and it also gives it a value of 1. Now, immediately after that, on line 4, it's console logging the letter A. This is not part of a conditional. This is not something that happens because of an event. So no matter what else happens in this code, it's going to print out the letter A. So I'm just actually going to make a note in my code that this is my final display. My final display is always first going to say A, and then it may or may not say some other letters depending on what the results of this code are. So if I look at this code, the first thing I encounter is an if statement. And before I get too far into evaluating this, I just want to know, where does this if statement start and stop? I see that it starts on line 5. I see its first curly brace. And then I'm going to want to go down and find its closing brace. So I see a closing brace here, but that goes with the opening brace on line 6. And I see a closing brace here, but that goes with the opening brace on line 8. So I think the closing brace I want is on line 11. So this if statement runs from line 5 to line 11. There's also an else statement here that runs from line 11 to line 16. And these two things, they go together. When we talk about doors we could walk through, this if and this else are two doors in the same hallway. I'm going to end up picking one. I can't pick both. And which one I pick is going to depend on the conditions that are presented to me. So to get through this door, the value of 1 needs to be greater than 4. So this is where I'm going to look at my code, and I see that the value of 1 is 1. And now I'm saying to myself, 1 is not greater than 4, which means this is a false statement, and that means this door is locked. So I can't actually get to anything between line 5 and line 11. It's like this doesn't exist at all. I can't walk through the door, so I can't get to this second if and else statement. That means the only thing left for me to evaluate is what's happening on line 11. The only door I can go through is the else door. So I get through my else door, and the first thing I'm presented with is another if statement. This says that if value 2 is not 5, then it's going to print D in my final display. And so I'm going to look at value 2. I see that it has a value of 1. 1 is not 5. So I'm able to run this conditional statement. Because I run this statement, it's going to print out D. Oops. And let's pretend that that's lowercase. And after I run this condition, I'm out of the condition and I'm still behind the else door. I get to this console log, which is going to run no matter what. It's not inside a condition. It's not happening because of something. It is just happening as a part of this else. So I'm going to put in the letter E. So my final display for this program would be A, D, E. If value 2 had been 5, this condition never would have run, but the E still would have been there. So only if value 2 had been 5 would I have not printed this D and just printed A and E. Good luck, guys. I know that these can be really, really confusing. Take them slow and think about where things are starting and ending. Remember on each level of condition. So for example, one level of condition was this if on line 5 to 11 and this else on line 11 to 16. You can only go through one door. Once you've picked one, the others are closed to you. Good luck. Go slow. Come to Slack and Lab Lounge hours if you guys need help.